Today's guest on the What Fuels You podcast is Rathna Sharad. Coming from a deep logistics background building cross-border solutions, Rathna started Runway to Street with her co-founder to solve the problem of international shipping for small to medium-sized business, enabling them to sell worldwide. They scaled the platform to more than 300 brands across more than 100 countries, and in doing so, realized the logistics was their biggest value add. This, combined with the pace of change they saw in cross-border e-commerce, led to the creation of Flavor Cloud in 2017. Flavor Cloud is a SaaS platform that any retailer or merchant can plug into and start shipping worldwide, with the mission to power every international B2C e-commerce purchase. Welcome, Rathna.
Thank you, Shauna. Great
You're
to be
welcome. I love the name Flavor Cloud. We're going to get into that.
Okay.
It's like I wouldn't even need to know what you do. I just I want some of that. I want some of the Flavor Cloud. Okay, so we're starting with rapid fire. Given that you're Miss Fashionista, who is your favorite designer?
Right now, Stella McCartney.
Yeah, I noticed that your coat is Stella McCartney.
Yes.
I have a Stella McCartney coat. It's my favorite.
Well, she's eco-friendly. That's why.
Yeah, you love that.
Yeah.
What is your favorite cuisine to cook?
I love pasta. So
Yeah.
Italian.
So you make homemade pasta?
Yes, I do.
What?
That's
You have one
my
of those
vice.
machines that you crank?
Or hand. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. I need to come eat some pasta with you.
Yeah.
What kind of yoga do you practice?
Hatha, primarily. Some Iyengar. But basically, I've been doing yoga for almost 20 years. And I like deep poses and kind of holding it for a long time, like 90 seconds. So,
Yeah, the hatha.
Yeah.
What is the beauty product that you most often recommend?
Ooh.
Us girls need to...
I love mascara.
Yeah.
So I like Lancome. The one that's more classic, I think it's Definicils.
Yeah, Definicils. I love that one. That one's probably the top-selling mascara.
Maybe. It's
Yeah,
just
it's a good
so
one.
natural. So
Yeah.
I like that for every day.
Yeah. Who is a female leader that you most admire?
Right now, Katrina Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Stitch Fix.
I mean, she's a trailblazer,
Yeah.
and
She's got a great podcast on how I built this. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's really good.
Yes, I've actually, and I've seen a few of her interviews, and she's just awesome.
Yeah, she's super impressive. What's a favorite app?
Favorite app right now? It's Headspace.
That's good. It's a really good. Do you do it religiously?
Yeah. Well, I try. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep getting my reminders and then I hit delete.
Yeah.
Which is not the point of it.
Yeah.
Okay, last two. What is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear. Not actually trying something. Actually, I'm not afraid of failing at all.
Yeah, so fear of maybe missing out on an opportunity.
Yeah.
And what was the last concert that you saw?
Oh my God, I don't know.
I know
So
that your
long
husband's in a
ago.
rock band.
Yeah.
Do you guys go hear music?
Guns N' Roses, maybe. No, actually, it was my husband's concert. That was the last one.
Yeah.
It was in San Francisco.
Oh, I love that.
So he plays in a little classic rock band, and they play really great music, I think.
Are you a groupie?
I am, absolutely.
I love it. So let's get to you. I feel like I met you, I don't even know, maybe 4 years ago?
Yeah.
I just remember you were a force, and I was originally drawn to you because you're stunning, and you were wearing some fabulous
Oh, thank
outfit. And we
you.
started talking like the woman thing,
Yes.
you're drawn to each other on that. And then I was blown away by learning more about you and more about Runway to Street, and I'm wearing my earrings
Oh my God,
that
awesome.
I got on Runway
I
to
love
Street.
it.
I'm bummed that I didn't get more because I get
Yeah.
stopped on the streets. For
You know,
these
I feel
earrings.
bad about that all the time. It's just like all my favorite brands. It was, an easy way to purchase. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it so that our listeners can learn more about what you were doing. But tell us first about you. Where did you grow up?
Chennai, so southern India, by the coast.
And what was it like? I've never been to India, so I can't picture it.
Well, it's really hot and humid, but it was a great city, and I just had a wonderful time. My grandparents lived close to us, so yeah, great memories all around.
And you have siblings?
Yeah, I have two younger sisters, and my dad and mom. My dad worked in the Middle East most of the time, so it was my mom that
raised
really
you?
raised us. Yeah, and so and she passed away in 2000. So for me, everything kind of is about my mom. All my memories go back to that.
Yeah. And what did your dad do? And do you remember kind of some of the messages they gave you around kind of their values?
Yeah. So my dad, the earliest memory of my dad is really him building our first TV. So he was an engineer,
Like electrical engineer?
Electronics,
Electronics.
and robotics. So he was into it. He worked on many different projects that were super exciting for radar and development, robotics, and so. Early engineering influence in my life was him just fixing everything around the house, whether it was mechanical stuff or electrical or electronic. He just
And he showed you how to do it?
Basically did that, yeah. And so he actually built our first TV, and I mean from scratch.
That's amazing.
So it was,
And it worked?
motherboards and, soldering it. And, I used to, my earliest memory was I was 3 or 4, and I remember picking out ICs so that he would just tell me, okay, look for ones that have, pink, red, and blue line on it. And I'd find it and then just watch him solder it. And it worked. And it was great. And
That's
we actually
amazing.
used it for 10 years or so.
And was it kind of a traditional upbringing as far as were they strict? And
Not really. I mean, I had all the freedom that I wanted. I pretty much, they trusted me a lot, especially I was the good one of the three.
Your sisters are naughty?
Yeah, they were. And so, I always got my way. They always believed in me. They just told me I could do whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And, 3 girls. So that was, I'd always heard everybody around you would be like, oh my God, 3 girls. I mean, it wasn't a good thing, definitely not in India. But my parents were always like, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want to do. So
That's amazing. So you feel like a lot of your kind of female empowerment came from both parents?
yeah, absolutely. And my mom was super creative. She was unbelievable at anything creative, really. She did a lot of art. She, I used to talk to her for hours about colors, so I think I get a lot of that creative side from her.
And I read that you originally kind of thought maybe you would be a fashion designer.
Well, I wanted to get into design, not specifically fashion. It was more product. I think I was really interested in architecture. And then, I ended up going to school for engineering. My science grades were great. And so my dad was hell-bent on getting me into engineering school. And you kind of did what your parents wanted you to do.
Yeah, that's like what you do. And so you were, you studied engineering, and was that a predominantly male field?
Yes.
So you kind of be like the one woman in the room?
Well, there were like 3 of us, but yeah.
Yeah. And so then what brought you to the U.S.? How did you end up here?
So I actually came here to study. And then, I had all these admissions in schools. And at the same time, I had a job offer. So I came here to study, but I ended up working. So I was one of those people that was deciding between a student visa and a H-1B, and I decided I should pay for my own education, so I should get a job first. So that's how I got started. And then...
where did you take a job?
So this was Jefferson City, Missouri.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't really picture you there.
No, I just didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So it was a consulting gig, and I was a developer, and we were working on the state medical systems. And
Is it the Emory Worldwide job?
No, it was before that.
Oh, okay.
I pretty much don't mention this because it was just like I wanted to get out of there because there was nothing else to do but go to the gym all day, every day.
Yeah.
And all my friends were in San Francisco or New York. And then I was like, oh my God, I just need to get out of here. And then there was this great role that came up. And it was in Portland, Oregon. And people told me all these great things about Oregon and fall colors and everything. And I was like, okay, I could definitely do that.
Mm-hmm. And your whole family's still at this time in India?
Yes. So I was here by myself.
Was that scary for you, or did you know people?
No, I always wanted to do it. And so that was a dream to come here. And really the great jobs were here. So if you wanted to really do anything in computer science, this is where you came. Mm-hmm. So that was very much my plan, and I was excited.
Yeah. What did you think of Portland?
I loved Portland, so that's where I met my husband.
Yes.
And,
how did you meet?
So we worked in the same company. So he was also a consultant.
Yeah.
We were both developers, and then we became housemates. Mm-hmm. And then things changed. Yeah.
And then you fell in love and got married.
Exactly. During this time, I was supposed to go back to school, but then I met my husband, and then I decided I'm just going to continue working. So I didn't go until.
Yeah, but you did go back to school, right? And
well, through Microsoft, but that was much later.
Much later that you went to school.
Yeah.
And so in Portland, you were doing also development work?
Yeah, so I started as a developer. So Emory was a carrier. It was a supply chain and logistics company. So I worked for Emory, Menlo, and then we got bought by UPS, so a couple of years there. So I actually spent 10 years in supply chain logistics.
Before it was even like a thing.
Yeah, I mean, transportation to me is extremely exciting. It's, shipping is the fabric of trade. And so I've always been fascinated by it. I built a lot of the route optimization systems across North America, Asia, and Europe. I worked with customs organizations around the world. And it's exactly what we do today, but just from the other side.
Right.
So it was always fascinating to me. And also, it's across ocean, air, trucking. It's constantly changing. But it's also this massive, antiquated industry.
Right.
So
they haven't quite caught up on the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so did you get recruited to Microsoft? That's how you came to Seattle?
Actually, I decided to move to Seattle because my sister, she went to school in Chicago, and then we decided we were just too far apart. It was hard to make time for family, and so we wanted to be in the same town. She wanted to come work for Microsoft, and so we decided, well, my husband and I, we were like, well, we can move to Seattle. I looked at Amazon and Microsoft then. Those were my picks.
Yeah.
And then I ended up taking the Microsoft role because it was something completely different from what I'd done before.
Yeah, you were working in Bing Ads?
Yeah, so I was one of the founding members of the ad platform team at Microsoft, which was then called Ad Center. And it was literally a tiny little startup. We were 12 in the engineering program management team. So I started there, and then I was there, and then I moved to product management, where I led the advertiser product management team. And so got to work with a lot of retailers, big and small there. It was a fascinating world. And that's how I got into e-commerce and online services.
Yeah. So you kind of now, like, fast forward, you're merging really your Microsoft and Emory Worldwide experience and passion all into one thing. And so when you were at Microsoft, did you think kind of, I have the entrepreneurial bug, or could you see yourself being one of those Microsoft lifers?
So it's interesting because I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. Certainly not during the time I was working at Microsoft, but I just kept coming back to the problem I was having, which is, as you know, I'm a shopaholic. I'm constantly looking for all these cool brands, and
I love your sweater, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And so I used to travel a lot, even for work at Microsoft. And, my way of, getting to know a place is certainly food, but also, finding brands that are
Cool little
local.
boutiques.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And so I was always finding these amazing pieces and then coming back and trying to buy them online. And it was such a horrendous experience, the shopping international, because of customs, because of shipping, because of all of the challenges that come with trade and compliance, that it got me thinking about why my past life did not translate to a great consumer experience. And I could see that's where it was going, because B2C and specifically borderless commerce was where everything was heading.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by how advertisers were finding consumers through ads, through our ad platform. And so I just felt like that thought just kept coming back to me, that I started doing business plans, kind of back of napkin kind of plans. And I was like, I couldn't get that out of my head. I just kept thinking,
Well, there's a problem that needed to be solved.
And I just felt like I was best suited to solve that problem as well.
Yeah. And that's how you came up with Runway to Street?
Yeah.
And so what was that business model?
So we then thought that SMBs, so small and medium-sized businesses, were the ones that were struggling with international shipping and logistics. So that's where we started. Runway to Street was a marketplace that enabled these small and medium brands to sell internationally. We scaled to over 300 brands across 100 countries. So these were, so suppliers in 100 countries selling to 200. So it was really a marketplace for these luxury brands across fashion, beauty, accessories. And what we learned was that none of the existing logistics technologies really solved the problems. So we ended up building ground up the infrastructure, if you will, for cross-border commerce. And that's what powered our marketplace. And during that time, so it was over 4 years, we saw that the biggest value add we gave these brands was the logistics, but also that it's not just a small business problem. It's actually larger brands have much more significant issues with compliance and trade and scale in terms of logistics. So that combined with we started getting requests from larger brands who didn't want to be in the marketplace or belong in our marketplace, but wanted us to power their logistics. So that's how we basically pivoted to Flavor Cloud.
Yeah. How did you come up with that name?
So Flavor Cloud was a name that cloud is easy, but flavor, we wanted it to represent diversity and more than just shipping, more than just commerce.
Oh, yeah, flavor.
It's just...
do you have a co-founder?
Yes. So my co-founder, who's a CTO, Sherman Soff, he used to be my developer at Bing Ads. So we've been, working together more than 10 years now.
Oh, that's perfect. You can kind of like anticipate each other's thoughts and find each other's blind spots without talking about them.
Yep.
That makes it really nice. And so what is the current business model? How does Flavor Cloud make money?
Yeah, so we make international shipping easy, affordable, and friction-free for merchants, retailers, marketplaces. So essentially, think of us as like Stripe for international shipping. We plug into shopping carts, and boom, they're able to ship worldwide. And the way we make money is we take a commission on every shipment that moves through our platform.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So does it also work? This might be not a great question, but I'm just now curious, like for wholesale businesses to sell to the retailers? I guess it could.
It could. We get those requests all the time. So we essentially help e-commerce merchants optimize their supply chain. So it's not just about the end consumer experience. So somebody going on the website, making a purchase, it could also be a business that's purchasing from them. So certainly there are pieces that are wholesale.
And so so it's on every shipment. So if they're sending a shipment of several SKUs at once. You just get it the
That's
one
right.
time.
Yeah.
And so what is your current kind of dream client, and B, kind of what's between you and your next goal? Like, what's keeping you up at night right now?
Yeah. So our dream, not so much client, but clients, is basically direct-to-consumer segment. So all of these really amazing direct-to-consumer brands that are our sweet spot. So these are digitally native. They started with e-commerce.
Could it be something like a Warby Parker?
A Warby Parker, an Allbirds, a Everlane. All of these are just great examples of how they've scaled and had that direct connection with their end consumer and really have built their entire business on e-commerce, even though they may be looking at brick and mortar presence right now as a supplementary thing. So all of these are great examples of brands.
So this helps to remove the obstacle for them of becoming an international brand.
So, I mean, every brand needs to really think about being a global brand now. Because consumers, we are finding these brands on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. You don't care if it's that Korean beauty product or Italian shoes. You want it now, thanks to Amazon. We just don't have patience. We want expedited shipping. So all of that is driving these retailers to rethink their global shipping strategy. And really, even if you look at traffic, like directional data, like a ComScore, 40 to 60% of any website's traffic today is international. So we're
of U.S.-based companies, or both ways?
Globally.
Globally.
But even in the U.S., it's right around 40%. And so the question becomes, how are you monetizing your existing traffic? But more importantly, your global growth should be at least 40 to 60%. 1 in 3 transactions today is cross-border. And it's growing twice as fast as regular e-commerce. So the world is becoming more connected.
Pretty good.
Yeah, no,
it's amazing.
Absolutely.
And so, what are you losing sleep over right now as an entrepreneur and CEO?
I mean, for me right now, we just got our leadership team in place, so it's a very exciting time for us. It's all about scale. It's about the next year is going to be critical for us in terms of figuring out what does our strategy look across channel. Channel for us is working with e-commerce platforms and third-party logistics providers, but also direct sales to these direct-to-consumer brands. And there's hundreds of thousands of them. We are a global platform. So it's really thinking across these two lines globally. And there are pockets around the world that we really care about. So India, China, Middle East, Australia, EU, all really big cross-border markets. So that's really what I lose sleep over.
Yeah, how you're going to... Well, it does.
And we're
sound
a
like,
small team.
Yeah, you are a small team. It does sound like. And so you've, how have you funded the company so far, and what are your plans going forward?
So we've raised $2.3 million so far in VC and angel money, and we plan on doing a Series A next year. So that's what we're working towards.
And how has that experience been for you as? I mean, it sounds so cliche, but literally just like, how has it been as a woman?
Oh, it's super hard. It's crazy. Yeah. It's, fundraising, especially the seed round that we did. It was really hard. And it was a huge learning curve for me because I'd never done VC before.
And what kind of nuggets of knowledge would you pass on to those who are going out for their first time to raise money?
I think there were 2 things specifically that were my takeaways. One was, so first of all, geography. Being in Seattle, starting to talk to VCs in the Bay Area, or we have one VC who's from DC. That's a real challenge And so really running it like a sales process and managing your time so that you're there for 2 or 3 weeks and you're coordinating everything to happen at the same time. That was something I had not anticipated, the importance of that. And I think that, I'll do it differently this time. And then the second thing was really understanding who the leads are and only working on that first, I think was my biggest takeaway, because
how to
I had a
partner
bunch
with the right ones.
Yeah, no, actually, who leads the round? Really figuring that out first before kind of spending time on the rest of them that would come into a round.
But if you don't know, then how do you know?
Well, you ask questions. That's part of the process. I think it's really treating it like a sales process and really understanding who are the right VCs to go after, making sure that those are, in my case, earlier it was seed, now it will be Series A, understanding who the partners are in each one of those and do they lead or not.
So in general, the question would be, hey, do you lead on rounds?
Yeah.
And if so, would you want to talk to the other entrepreneurs to see what they've been like as partners and board members?
Absolutely. I think the first step for me is figuring out, who the leads are, and then obviously hopefully bringing several of them along the pipeline at the same time, and then talking to other entrepreneurs, obviously.
Yeah. And how have you been? You said you just put together kind of your killer, I saw some of the bios and they're impressive, leadership team. How have you gone about identifying and vetting those people, and how do you do that as it relates to kind of culture that you're trying to build?
Yeah, I think, so now we'd be 10 with our sales and BD leader. Hopefully that'll happen within the next couple of weeks. But it's all about culture right now. So it's really about looking at fit with me, the rest of the team, because we're going to be working day in and day out. And,
right. But how do you define it?
For us, it's, I look at 3 core things. One is transparency. So a lot of what we do, even how we think about, partnerships or pricing models, a lot of it is, you can call that integrity, but a lot of it is about transparency and how we communicate, how we do business, how we like to embody that on a day-to-day basis. And then the second thing is it's not really about titles. Everybody is, I am hiring amazing folks who come with all kinds of experience and expertise. But it's really about team right now and goals that we're setting together and going after them. And it's ultimately, the third and most important thing is, we always think about the customer. They're really the center of our universe and the product and how we go about creating our cross-border network and creating our APIs or apps or any of that is because we have that tight feedback loop with our customers.
And what has been the proudest moment so far in the course of running Flavor Cloud? Is there a customer client that you've gotten over the finish line that you're like, wow?
Absolutely, it's always those for me. It's like customers saying, like yesterday, I got this review that said, Flavor Cloud makes international shipping a breeze. And then I never thought I'd say this. So that was wonderful to hear.
Oh, I'm sure. And how do you spend your days, day in and day out? Are you working constantly?
I think I'm pretty good with time management. I've gotten better. I definitely make time for family. I make time for things that I need to do every day outside of work. I get my 7 hours of sleep, which I never used to before.
Yeah.
But I feel like it just makes me more productive. And, I do yoga. I like to cook every day. So I think time management is one of those things that, as an entrepreneur, you really need to know what you're going to say no to and how you keep focus on the things that that you need to do on a daily basis. That's most critical for current stage.
And how do you do that? Is there a system or a process? And have you ever had a coach?
No, I've never had a coach. I think I don't know that I've had a system. I've just gotten better over time. Prioritization has definitely been, it's one of my strengths. I think that's my PM skill, basically.
Yeah. I always am curious when people are, especially for someone like you, who are like, okay, I'm an engineer. I'm doing a lot of the biz dev.
Yeah.
I'm doing the fundraising. I'm doing the PM work. It's like, what is your ultimate kind of best use of your time right now as the CEO, as you've scaled and as you continue to scale? And also, when do you feel most in your flow?
Yeah. I was doing all of those things. We were all product and engineering until like 6 months ago. Definitely doing all of those pieces and that was not great because, something's got to give. And during the time that I was doing fundraising, you still want to, run the business, grow sales, all of that. But now I have, a fantastic VP of customer success and operations. So, the day-to-day stuff, is just off my plate. And then we have, I just brought on board a chief product officer. That wasn't a role that I was looking to hire per se, not right now, but it's been unbelievable having Amy Morgan. She joined us just 2 months ago. So it's been fantastic to have her come in, and she's got a lot of the industry background. And so, take that off my plate. So I can really focus on building the business. I talk to customers every single day. That's when I'm really in my flow. I love it because ultimately what I do best is translation between industry needs and product.
Yeah.
And so I love doing that. But at the same time, I'm going to kick into a mode for fundraising. So I know that that's going to take up a lot of my time pretty soon. So that's why, having a person that's really running sales and BD is going to be the next area that I need to, give to someone else.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so doing all of this, I know that you said that you love to cook and that you love to do yoga.
Yeah.
But how do you personally, I know that cooking and yoga are your two ways to unwind, but what about when you're just in the middle of work? Do you ever just take a walk?
Yeah, I do.
Or how do you kind of let the stress out?
Yeah, I think sometimes you just have to step away. I like to just, think about things. If there's a stressful situation and you pretty much run into something all the time.
Yeah.
There's so many ups and downs, even in the same day.
I'm sure. Are you having a good day today?
I am having a great day today.
Oh, that's good.
So,
yeah, it's crazy because when you're in a startup, you're just walking in and you're like, this was my plan, and then it changes.
Yeah.
And this is how I was feeling, and then it changes.
Yeah. In general, I'm even keel. It's very hard to get me too wound up or, crazy high or low. But certainly a startup does test your boundaries in a lot of different ways. So there have been times, but in general, I like to step away. I like to think about it and then come back to it because it gives you more room to just walk away. Yeah. And then if you still feel the same way, then you deal with it.
Yeah. And do you have time to read for pleasure? And
yes, I do.
So what are you reading right now?
I'm reading a book on climate change.
That's your pleasure?
Well, I read anything, actually.
Do you read any business books?
I do. I don't know what I read the last time.
But sometimes you enjoy reading business books.
Yeah.
Does it come naturally to you to be the face of something and to lead others?
Yeah, I think so. I've always done that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So your friends from your childhood wouldn't be surprised to see you now. Like, hey, yeah,
No.
Rathna's running this company.
I probably was running all kinds of things, being a prefect,
Yeah.
organizing things, always doing something.
Yeah. And do you have any creative outlets outside? Do you play any instruments?
No.
Just your husband?
No, I'm
I
a
don't
groupie,
either.
that's it.
You get to be a groupie. And
Yeah.
what about speaking languages? I read that you speak a ton. Is this
No,
true?
no, it's just 3
3
or
languages?
4, maybe 3.5.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
What languages do you speak?
So my mother tongue is Telugu. And I grew up in another state, Tamil Nadu, so I speak Tamil, English, and actually I learned Hindi, so I guess 4, and then French in high school. So yeah, I think 4.5.
That's a lot of languages. Do your parents speak English at home, or you're speaking?
We mostly spoke English at home, although we did speak Tamil and Telugu as well. Because, with my grandparents, I spoke in Telugu. And then with, others on my dad's side, I spoke Tamil.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And is it, I know that we talked a little bit, the two of us, about kind of, there's the Indian and Jewish, like, you marry within your tribe and but there's different levels within that. And a couple of my friends who are from India, they're from different places in India. And that seems like, oh, you're from there? There's a whole thing around it.
Yeah.
So are you and your husband...
We're,
is he from India also?
He is from India. He is from the state that I grew up in, so Tamil Nadu. His mother tongue is Tamil, and mine is different.
Yeah.
But, I guess we're different states. But
and is that like the equivalent of being raised different culturally or no?
Not really. I mean,
really.
I grew up in the same city.
Yeah.
So I think, that's actually, we're pretty similar in a lot of ways. And our experiences were very similar. So I think there's more similarity than differences.
And do you think that things have moved forward as far as the traditional headspace around women having the expectation that a woman would be kind of at home?
No.
Within the Indian culture?
I don't think it has. I've been so removed from it, at least more
but
than
you've got
2
cousins
decades.
and friends, and what's the general kind of consensus on that?
That's what bothers me every time I go back. I
Yeah.
feel like, if there was one thing that really bothered me, it was that. It bothered me then. It bothers me today.
So you're the outlier. It's not. It's like they're looking at you like you're working and you don't have 5 kids. And
Not so much in terms of work. I think people do get to work, but in terms of you see it every day, education, having the resources, between a son and a daughter, you see the differences.
still to this day.
Yeah. Not so much certainly not my family. My husband's family were a lot more progressive. But you do see that around you. You do see a lot of biases.
Yeah. And do you feel a responsibility as a woman, and specifically as a woman from India, to help propel future women and future kind of...
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I care a lot about this. And so that's also why I think it bothers me a lot, because, I like freedom in terms of, I can, drive the car at any time. I don't need somebody to escort me in the middle of the night. But the reality is very different. And so, it's everyday things. And that's the hard part. And I'm pretty helpless when I go there. I don't know that I can do anything to change it. You know, I felt like our generation would have completely, changed things around, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah. And how do you feel in Seattle?
Well, it's definitely better here when you compare, everything feels a lot better. But then, I think then you look at the funding that women founders are getting, the
2%.
treatment that you actually see it. And you're able to...
Well, the numbers definitely tell the story for sure.
Yeah, they do. And really, you can see a difference even in the meetings in terms of questions or who they think is the CEO of the company.
For sure. When you walk in with your co-founder, they're just assuming he's the CEO.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that. And it would be nice if 5 years from now we had a lot more women CEOs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, more women should be starting companies. We should be on boards of, larger
And
companies.
funding women.
And there should be more
Yeah.
diversity. Every founder, every executive should be thinking about diversity because the numbers are not good.
Yeah, the numbers are not good. Well, let's do it. You and I talked about this. Like, what can we do to make the biggest impact? Right? I mean, thinking about it, but you're actually doing it also. Because I know that you've got a lot of women executives in your company.
Yeah, and I think about my diversity in terms of the team, but also cap table, and really thinking about, the next thing I want to do is get involved in, because we want to have women writing checks. So, how can I be part of a fund or other, how can I fund other, as an angel, maybe small checks, but really getting out there and
Creating the
making
opportunity.
it happen.
Yeah, for sure. And so what would you say ultimately, like the kind of legacy part, what fuels you?
Yeah, I think it's really the mission. I believe that shipping is the fabric of international trade, and we're in this extremely connected world. And I want to power brands to reach the consumers, no matter where they are.
Yeah,
I think that that is the legacy.
that's amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. So people, if they want to find Flavor Cloud, it's just flavorcloud.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank
That's it.
you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.